The photographer nodded uncomfortably as my mother gestured toward me with barely concealed irritation. Just focus on the family that looks put together, Mom said, adjusting her elegant white dress. We want these photos to represent our best selves. I stood off to the side in the garden venue, wearing a simple navy dress that had cost more than most people's monthly salary, though no one would know it. Conservative cut, minimal jewelry, understated elegance. Apparently still not good enough for the Vow Renewal photos. Amelia always dresses so plain, my older sister Rebecca whispered loudly to our aunt. You'd think she'd make an effort for Mom and Dad's big day. Rebecca was in a designer gown, her surgeon husband beside her in a custom suit. My younger brother Marcus stood with his fiancée, both of them polished and professional. They were the success stories. Rebecca with her thriving dental practice, Marcus with his corporate law career. I was the disappointment. The daughter who dropped out of medical school to pursue that tech thing. The one who lived in a modest apartment and drove a 5-year-old car. The one who'd never quite lived up to the family's expectations. We're taking formal family photos now, the photographer announced. Immediate family, please. Mom caught my eye and gave a subtle headshake. Why don't you wait inside, dear? We'll do some casual shots later. These formal ones are really just for the core family. Core family. As if I wasn't her daughter. I nodded and stepped back, pulling out my phone. The Forbes editor had texted an hour ago. Issue hit stands in 30 minutes. Digital version goes live during your mom's ceremony. Congratulations again, the cover looks incredible. I checked the time. 22 minutes. I'd founded MediMatch 4 years ago at age 26. The platform used AI to connect patients with clinical trials, matching medical conditions with research studies that needed participants. What started as a solution to a personal problem, watching my grandmother struggle to find trials for her rare disease, had grown into something transformative. Last year we'd facilitated over 50,000 trial matches. Pharmaceutical companies and research institutions paid us for access to our matching algorithm. Patients used our platform for free. We'd helped accelerate drug development timelines by an average of 8 months. 3 months ago, we'd closed our Series B funding round, $75 million led by one of Silicon Valley's top venture capital firms. Our valuation was now over $300 million. My stake was 42%. But I didn't talk about it at family gatherings. I tried early on. At Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I'd mentioned we'd reached 10,000 users. Mom had said, "That's nice, honey. Rebecca just bought a vacation home. Did you see the photos?" Christmas, I'd explained about the series of funding, $12 million. Dad had nodded absently and asked when I was going to settle down with a real career. At Easter, I tried to discuss the partnership with Johns Hopkins. Marcus had interrupted, "Tech stuff is so complicated. I prefer straightforward work like law." So I'd stopped trying. Let them assume my tech thing was a struggling startup. Let them think I was the unsuccessful daughter because I didn't display wealth the way they expected. Today was different. Today Forbes was publishing their 30 under 30 healthcare issue. With my face on the cover. The feature article detailed MediMatch's impact, our funding, our growth trajectory. My CFO had called it the most prestigious publicity we could possibly get. And it was going live in 19 minutes, right in the middle of Mom's vow renewal ceremony. The ceremony began in the garden. My parents stood under a flower-covered arch, recommitting to each other after 35 years of marriage. It was genuinely beautiful. They loved each other, that was never in doubt. They just couldn't see me clearly. I sat in the back row, away from the immediate family section where Rebecca and Marcus sat front and center. Several relatives had given me pitying looks when they'd seen my seat assignment. "Such a shame," I heard one aunt whisper. "Still struggling while her siblings are so successful." The officiant spoke about love, commitment, and family bonds. My parents looked radiant, repeating vows they'd written themselves. My phone buzzed silently. The Forbes editor, "We're live. Already trending on social media. Congratulations, Amelia." I glanced at my phone. The digital cover was stunning, me in a professional photo, arms crossed, confident smile with the headline, 30 under 30 Healthcare, How Amelia Chen's MediMatch is Revolutionizing Clinical Trial Access. Around me phones were starting to buzz. Guests were checking devices, scrolling, their expressions changing from polite attention to shock. I watched the realization spread through the crowd like a wave. Someone gasped. Another person whispered urgently to their neighbor. Phones came out everywhere, the soft glow of screens multiplying in the dimming garden light. Rebecca pulled out her phone, scrolled, and went absolutely pale. Marcus saw her expression and checked his own device. His eyes widened. At the altar, Mom and Dad remained focused on their vows, unaware of the disturbance rippling through their guests. Then Rebecca's husband, a surgeon who apparently followed medical news, stood abruptly and said loudly, "Holy shit. Miliache. Medimatch. That's you." The ceremony stopped mid-vow. Every head turned toward me in the back row. "I'm sorry," Rebecca's husband continued, holding up his phone. "But Amelia Chin just made the Forbes 30 Under 30 cover. Healthcare category. For founding Medimatch, the clinical trial platform that's changing pharmaceutical research. That's this Amelia, right?" Mom's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and dawning horror. The ceremony dissolved into chaos. Guests crowded around phones reading the Forbes article. The photographer abandoned his position to check his device. The officiant stood awkwardly at the altar, unsure whether to continue. "Amelia Chin, founder and CEO of Medimatch," someone read aloud. 4 years ago, Chin dropped out of medical school to build an AI-powered platform connecting patients with clinical trials. Her company has facilitated over 50,000 matches, partnering with major pharmaceutical companies and research institutions. Recent Series B funding of $75 million values the company at over $300 million. "That can't be right," Mom said faintly. "Amelia's startup is small. She struggles. She lives in that tiny apartment." "The article says she just bought a penthouse downtown," Marcus's fiancée said, scrolling on her phone. "There are photos of the Medimatch headquarters. It's huge. 50 employees." Rebecca stood frozen, her phone shaking in her hand. "There's a video interview. From last month. She's talking about revolutionizing drug development." My phone exploded with notifications. Congratulations from investors, colleagues, former professors. LinkedIn was lighting up. Twitter was buzzing. The Forbes cover had gone viral within minutes. Mom walked down the aisle toward me, Dad following. Both looked shell-shocked. "Amelia," Mom said carefully. "Is this true? You're on the Forbes 30 Under 30 cover." "Yes." "And your company is worth $300 million? "That's the current valuation, yes." "But you said you had a startup. You never said it was successful. You drive an old car. You live in a small apartment." "I lived in a small apartment," I corrected gently. "I moved to a penthouse last month. And I drive a practical car because I prefer reliable to flashy. Success doesn't require performance, Mom." Dad stared at his phone, reading the Forbes article. "You've raised $87 million in total funding. You have partnerships with Pfizer, Merck, Johnson & Johnson. Top pharmaceutical companies." "Yes." "Why didn't you tell us?" Mom's voice cracked. "Why did you let us think you were struggling?" "I tried to tell you. Repeatedly. You weren't interested. Every time I mentioned Medimatch, you changed the subject or minimized it. So I stopped trying." Rebecca approached, tears streaming down her face. "The article mentions you dropped out of medical school. We thought you'd failed. We've been pitying you for 4 years." "I didn't fail. I left to build something I believed in. There's a difference." "But why didn't you correct us?" Marcus demanded. "Why let us think you were unsuccessful?" "Because you'd already decided I was unsuccessful," I said quietly. "You measured success by conventional metrics, stable careers, expensive displays, traditional paths. I was building something unconventional. You couldn't see its value because you weren't willing to look." Mom sank into a chair, her vow renewal forgotten. Guests clustered around phones, reading every detail of the Forbes feature. The photographer had abandoned ceremony photos entirely to document this unexpected drama. "The article says you've been invited to speak at medical conferences worldwide," an aunt said, reading aloud. "That Johns Hopkins is using your platform as a case study. That you've been consulted by the FDA about improving trial accessibility. You're changing healthcare," Rebecca's husband said, awe in his voice. "We use your platform at the hospital. I didn't know you founded it." "You never asked what Medimatch actually did," I said. "You just assumed it was a small tech project." Dad looked broken. I told you to get a real career. Last Christmas. I said that to your face. You did. And you were running a company that just raised $75 million. Yes. Mom stood, approaching me with obvious remorse. The photos. I told the photographer to keep you out of frame because you didn't look successful enough. Because I was embarrassed by your simple dress and old car. I know. But you're the most successful one here, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Aren't you? More successful than Rebecca's dental practice. More than Marcus's law career. You're on the Forbes cover. You're changing an entire industry. Success comes in many forms, I said. Rebecca's practice helps people. Marcus's legal work matters. My platform connects patients with potentially life-saving treatments. Different paths, different impacts, all valuable. But we dismissed you, Rebecca said. We pitted you. We excluded you from family photos because we thought you were the failure. You excluded me because I didn't perform success the way you expected, I corrected. I don't wear designer labels to family events. I don't drive luxury cars. I don't announce my achievements loudly. So you assumed I had nothing to announce. The vow renewal ceremony never resumed. Mom and Dad were too shaken, the guests too absorbed in the Forbes coverage spreading across social media. Someone had already posted about the ceremony drama. Bride excludes daughter from vow renewal photos, then Forbes 30 under 30 cover drops mid-ceremony. It was trending within an hour. Marcus approached me cautiously. The article mentions you turned down acquisition offers from 3 major pharmaceutical companies. Offers over $500 million. I did. Why? Because MediMatch's mission is patient access, not profit maximization. Selling to a pharma company would compromise that mission. Some things matter more than money. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. I thought you were naive about business. But you're actually principled. Both can be true, I said with a slight smile. Rebecca hugged me suddenly, crying harder. I'm so sorry. For everything. For the comments about dressing plain. For never asking about your work. For assuming you were struggling. I know you are, I said. But Rebecca, this can't happen again. If we're going to have a relationship going forward, you need to respect my choices even when you don't understand them. Even when they don't look like your version of success. I will, she promised. I swear I will. The garden cleared slowly as guests departed, still buzzing about the Forbes cover. The photographer approached hesitantly. Miss Chin, I apologize for earlier. Your mother asked me to minimize you in the photos. I should have refused. You were doing your job, I said. Still. He paused. Would you be willing to take some photos now? For your own use. The Forbes cover is incredible. You should have images from today to remember it. I considered, then nodded. Sure. Just me though. No family shots. He photographed me in the garden, the sunset light perfect, my simple navy dress elegant against the flowers. Professional shots of someone who just made Forbes 30 under 30, celebrating at a family event that had tried to hide her. Mom watched from a distance, crying quietly. When the photos finished, she approached. Amelia, I don't know how to apologize adequately. I was cruel. I was judgmental. I excluded you from your own family's celebration because I was embarrassed by you. Why were you embarrassed? I asked. Because you didn't look successful by my standards. Designer clothes, luxury cars, flashy displays. I wanted our photos to show a perfect, accomplished family. And I thought you diminished that image. But I am accomplished, I said. More than you realized. You just couldn't see it. I couldn't see it because I wasn't looking, she said. I was so focused on superficial markers of success that I missed actual achievement. You're changing people's lives. You're revolutionizing healthcare access. And I wanted to keep you out of photos. Yes, I agreed. You did. Can you forgive me? I looked at my mother, this woman who'd raised me, who loved me, but who'd hurt me deeply by valuing appearance over substance. Eventually, I said. But Mom, things need to change. Not just with you, with the whole family. You need to recognize that success isn't one size fits all. That meaningful work doesn't always come with flashy displays. That your children have different strengths and different paths. I will change, she said. Starting now. Please give me the chance. 2 weeks later, Mom called to ask if she could attend my keynote speech at the Medical Innovation Summit. I want to understand your work, she said. Really understand it. He came, bringing Dad, Rebecca, and Marcus. They sat in the front row as I presented MediMatch's impact data, our future roadmap, our mission to democratize trial access. Afterward, Dad hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. You should have, I agreed. But you're saying it now. That counts. The Forbes cover had been framed and hung in their living room, prominently displayed, impossible to miss. Mom had apparently spent the past 2 weeks telling everyone about her daughter, the Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree, the healthcare innovator, the CEO. Making up for lost time. 6 months later, at a family dinner, Rebecca's daughter asked what I did for work. Before I could answer, Mom jumped in. Aunt Amelia runs a company that helps sick people find medical trials that could save their lives. She's a healthcare innovator who's changing how medicine works. She's brilliant. Rebecca added, she was on the Forbes 30 Under 30 cover. She's kind of a big deal. Marcus grinned. She turned down $500 million because principles matter more than profit. She's basically a healthcare superhero. I smiled, grateful for the shift, even if it had required a viral Forbes cover to catalyze it. I run a company called MediMatch, I told my niece. We help connect patients with clinical trials. It's important work that matters to me. That's so cool, she said. Can I work there when I grow up? Absolutely, I said. If you're interested in healthcare and technology, there will always be a place for you. After dinner, Mom pulled me aside. Thank you for giving us another chance. For not walking away when we excluded you. You're my family, I said simply. That doesn't change even when things are difficult. The Vow Renewal photos, she said quietly. They're beautiful. But my favorite photo from that day is the one the photographer took of you afterward. Just you in your simple dress in the garden at sunset. You look confident, successful. Exactly like someone who belongs on the Forbes cover. She paused. I'm sorry I couldn't see that before the cover dropped. I should have seen it all along. You see it now, I said. That's what matters. The unsuccessful daughter had never been unsuccessful at all. I'd just been building success in a language my family didn't speak yet. But they were learning. And finally the photos told the truth. I belonged in the frame all along.